Welcome to the AfroCentric Woman, where our mission is to inspire Black women to heal core wounds and embrace a luxurious and abundant lifestyle. Thank you for joining me. Let's talk, sis.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Please excuse the audio. I am driving, but I also haven't been recording videos, so for various reasons, refer to my anxiety video. So I'm like, let me go ahead and just record something since I can do it in my car. Okay, so I wanted to tell you about another devaluation situation very early on in the game. So also refer to my video on early devaluation. Okay, so I'll have to give you all some different story times about my marriage to a covert narcissist. But nonetheless, I took 3 years off after that relationship ended, and I did not date at all, literally nothing. And so last year, when I was newly back into the dating game, I met a man online. I don't remember the app. It might have been Plenty of Fish. I really don't remember which one, but I'm not on Plenty of Fish anymore. So I met this man online and we talked. We had a few conversations in the evenings and we text a little bit. And looking back, I remember there were a few things that I thought were off. Mainly he just seemed to be very comfortable being a victim. Like, he's talking about how everybody's taking advantage of him at work, and he's just seemed to be very comfortable with that. So I did take note of that as that being something that I need to be aware of. So my schedule, because of my child, is very tight, and I was newly into the dating game, so I wasn't as sophisticated as I am now. So I suggested to him that he meet me at a park near my office, so I could meet him there and take a little walk. It's like a little nature stroll, and then I could be on my way, just to kind of get a feel for him. And so he agreed to do that, and he had quite a bit of drive. I think he came like 45 minutes or something to meet me. And so we had the stroll. We had this conversation, and I'll tell you something that really unnerved me. We're having this conversation, and he's basically talking about how somehow we got on the subject of him talking about his childhood, and he was basically told me that he was really severely abused and starved to death, that his growth was stunted at one point in time because he wasn't eating and he didn't have running water, and his utilities were hit and miss, and he used to have to go to neighbor's house to eat or take a bath or use the bathroom, and basically they were just like abandoned, neglected kids. And his dad was, really authoritarian. And I'm thinking in my head, initially, of course, I'm a very empathetic person, and I just astral project to the past to see this little boy in need of love and feeling sorry that little boy didn't get what he needed at the time. And feeling really bad about that. And then my adult self is kind of like, well, it just was so nonchalant. Like, well, what are you doing to help yourself? Or, like, I know what this means. I'm sophisticated enough to know what all this abuse is going to mean for me as a potential mate. And I know that all that abuse and neglect will be directed towards me. And so that's making me scared. And it's not that I'm looking for someone with the perfect past, or the perfect family system, But I think to be abused for years and years and years and years, and then you just move on like nothing happened, I think that something's wrong with that. I would think that you would need to be in counseling, and you would need to be doing work towards helping yourself and acknowledging how that trauma has affected you today, and to be aware and to be self-aware and to be self-reflective. So I was really, taken aback by that. And then towards the end of the date, we're getting ready to go our separate ways. I need to head out to do something. And he's like, well, I'm going to the movies with my family tomorrow. My brother and his wife and his kids, and we're going to the movies. And I was like, oh, enjoy yourself. And he was like, well, would you want to come to the movies with me? And I was really hesitant. And I said, maybe let me think about that. Let me think about that, and I'll, get back to you. I need to check my schedule. I really this was our first date. Like, why do I need to meet your family? And so, after the date, I texted him. I don't know. I was like, well, I enjoyed our conversation. I think because I was really on the fence about that information, and I really felt like it could go either way, like all the trauma and the neglect and the childhood. Like, there's a part of me that's like, oh wow, I'm glad that you're being vulnerable, and then there's a part of me that's like, I kind of know this pattern. I know this tactic. Narcissists will show you a little piece of their past to hook you in emotionally, and then you'll never see you'll never see it again, right? Like, they'll never really be vulnerable ever again. Once you're actually hooked, they'll just pretend like they're the strongest superhero in the world. So I kind of knew that tactic, and so I was uneasy, but nonetheless, we did talk about other things related to fitness and wellness, and we had a few laughs. So it was an okay conversation. And so I texted him, and I was like, well, I enjoyed our conversation. I enjoyed our time, and his response was kind of like, I'm good, or something along those lines, like, I'm good. Or, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. It was just this really generic response via text. And I text and I said, well, are you good from the date, or are you good on me? And he was like, both. And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't respond. So after a while, he called, or maybe I called, I don't remember, but we did talk. And he was just kind of like, and I was like, oh, I'm wondering, like, did I miss something? It seemed like we had a good conversation, but, I understand, if it's not a good connection, then it is what it is. It's not a big deal. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, what is it? What's going on? What's going through your mind? And he was like, your teeth. And I was like, my teeth? He's like, yeah, your teeth. It looks like you need to get your teeth cleaned. And I don't like a woman with bad hygiene. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's valid. And, you're entitled to feel how you want to feel about somebody's teeth. Yeah, so, that's just what it is for me. I'm like, okay. All right. Well, you have a nice day and take care. He's like, but wait, are you going to come to the movies with me? I was like, I gotta go. So I hung up the phone and I blocked him from my phone, and somehow or another, he ended up coming up on my dating search again, and he changed his profile to people just drop you at the drop of a dime for no reason at all, doesn't make any sense, whoop whoop whoop, yada yada yada. And I'm like, this dude is fucking crazy. Like, listen, I'm not getting no complaints about my teeth, about nothing that has to do with me. And if you don't like my teeth, and I smile, then go find you a woman whose teeth you like. Like, I feel no ways about that. I don't know if he was expecting me to say, oh, baby, don't go. I'm going to book an appointment right now to see the orthodontist and the dentist and get everything the way you want it. Bro, I don't know you. I'm not interested. Do you? Is kind of how I'm feeling. And, I'm so glad that I walked away from that situation, because that level of devaluation so early on, the weirdness. The thing about narcissists is like you're always in a state of confusion. You're like, well, why did they do this, and why did they say that, and well, why, you just find yourself trying to unravel the riddles and enigmas of their awkward, strange behavior, and things that they say. And that's really, for me, a red flag. And it's just something that I'm not willing to tolerate. And I'm definitely not willing to tolerate those early devaluations, because it's only going to go down from there. A man will always, always show you the best that he has to offer within the first few months of dating. So if he is already setting you up to be devalued by nitpicking something about you, like, oh, your teeth aren't cleaner, or I don't like your hair, or oh, I think you could stand to lose a few pounds, he's not appreciating you the way you are. And it's only going to go downhill from there. And they're really just testing you to see how tolerant you are to being abused. Because a lot of women would have defended themselves, or, if you have codependent tendencies, you would be willing to try to prove yourself to be worthy, to be lovable by this particular person who's devaluing you. You will internally, subconsciously take it on as a challenge, because there's been so many times in our childhood when we're trying to prove to our emotionally unavailable parents, our narcissistic parents, our cluster B tendency parents, that we're lovable, that we are worthy. So we're hardwired. Well, I wouldn't say hardwired, but we have been accustomed to, in our childhood, proving our love, proving our worth, and so a lot of times these narcissists will activate that within us, and oftentimes we aren't even aware of it. We just jump into the mode of proving ourselves to be lovable and explaining why we're lovable, explaining why you're wrong about my teeth. No, look at it this way. They're really not that bad, and kind of engaging as opposed to using our 2 feet and using them to walk away. Based on the level of abuse this individual described to me, I can tell that he is probably a very abusive person by how he was treated. Because there's very important as a child that you get the love and nurturing that you need, that you are not starved, that you are not neglected, that you are validated, that you are loved, cared for, and empowered, and surrounded by a safe environment. And so for him to explain everything that he had going on and be so cold and emotionless about it, I was like, oh my God, this could be very, very bad. And so I just took it when he made the comment about my teeth. I laughed about it, and I talked to my friend about it afterwards, and she was like, well, aren't you mad? Aren't you mad? I'm like, girl, no, I'm not mad. And the reason why I'm not mad, I wasn't mad at the time, is because I know the nature of the beast. I have dealt with narcissists. I know how they operate, and I don't take what they say personal against me. The most important thing to me is how I personally feel about my teeth. How do I feel about my appearance? How do I feel about my intellect? How do I feel about my accomplishments? How do I feel about my personality? How do I feel about my relationships? How do I feel about my career? How do I feel about my education? How do I feel about myself? That's what matters to me. No random abused boy in a man's body is going to come up to me and make me feel some type of way about myself. No, bro, it's not happening. So that's my little story time about how I walked away from this weirdo, creepo, I'm sure narcissist. I just got that feeling, that feeling that you get. You're like, narc alert. I just knew it. And so, the whole devaluation situation just kind of confirmed everything for me. And then how confused I felt as far as him telling me that he's good on me and then telling me he don't like my teeth and then still wondering why I won't go to the movies with him. It's confusing, right? Narcissists are very confusing people. You find yourself, they contradict themselves a lot. They'll say one thing, do another, things don't add up. And that's a red flag. If you're early in a relationship and things are never adding up, nothing is flowing. They're saying one thing, doing another, things are incongruent. It's too good to be true, or, it's just, those kinds of things. And hey, this is something I really need to evaluate and I really need to look at. And then nobody should be devaluing you early into the relationship, because who the heck are they to give you any type of, you know, uh, I'm not going to say feedback, but criticisms about yourself. Like, who are they? I mean, I could see if it's a close friend who, they know you and they know what's going on with you and they say, hey, have you ever thought about this or ever thought about that? Because you have that type of rapport, you have that type of relationship, you have that type of trust. They know how to talk to you a certain way, then maybe they can get to you. None of us are, above criticism or above feedback. But some random Joe Blow meeting you for the first time should not have a bunch of feedback and criticisms about how you show up in the world. Now, obviously, if you're a ratchet hot mess on the date and you're rude, then yeah, they might have, feedback like, hey, you really talk to the waiter with an attitude, or, they might have that type of feedback. Or, when we go to these type of places, we have to keep our voices down, or, or if they take you to a dance party, like, well, I thought that we were going to both be able to dance with each other and I felt alone out there, like you weren't dancing with me. Like, that's valid feedback for a first date, because those are situations and behaviors that actually happen on the date. But how you show up in the world is your looks, it's your accomplishments, it's those types of things. It's, the intrinsic values about yourself. They shouldn't be criticizing those things right off the bat. They shouldn't be making comments about your hair. Oh, your hair is, I don't like it. Or, oh, have you ever tried? Or do you always wear weaves? Or how much makeup? Those kinds of things. If they have that type of feedback about you, you need to let them go, because they're low-key devaluing you. They're high-key devaluing you. So please drop down into the comments and let me know if you can look back at, toxic relationships or narcissistic relationships, or relationships with emotionally unavailable men that devalued you very early on. Did you leave? Did you stay? How did you react? I'd love to see your comments down below.
Thank you so much for sharing your time and attention with the AfroCentric woman. Special gratitude to our subscribers. If you'd like to stay connected with this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you like this content, please hit the like button. If you have any comments or thoughts about the content shared, please drop down into the comment section and let us know. Remember, you are worthy, you are enough, you are unique, and you are lovable. And I appreciate you.